Loud. Welcome, Barbara.
Hello, so nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes. This is super special, powerful, exciting. It's hard to put words to all the alignments that bring us into this right now moment. So I want to introduce you and then launch into a little bit of story and just open into some juicy conversation. So this is Barbara Bolton Schreiber. Did I say your name right?
You did, yay!
Of Sisters Rocking Courage. And her mission is to work with women trauma survivors, help to empower them to tap into their powers and then bring it into the real world through their entrepreneurial gifts. So it's so awesome, so exciting, so aligned with everything we're about here in this space at Wellness Lies Within.
Yeah.
So the reason why there's so much energetic alignment with all of this. So Monday is my birthday. And I didn't know it's coming up soon too, right? When's yours?
The 17th, a week later. Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my
Fellow
goodness.
Leo.
Yeah. So what is
Lots of energy.
a birthday? A birthday is when, at the highest level, our spirit said, okay, I want to do this thing called life. I want to incarnate. I want to do this. I want to try on the human experience. And I want to do it in a specific way. I got goosebumps, but that means we agreed to everything in this whole contract of our experience. We're like, yeah, I want to take it on that way this time. I want to do that. And that means a lot of different things. And for those of us who have experienced intense traumas, that's a really hard lesson to dive into and open to. And not everybody's ready to begin to hear it, but a lot of people really are, which is part of what, again, with the alignment of everything, that's super exciting. I want to tap into actually that. I'm going to start there. So tell me, we were talking the other day in our buddy meeting about a message that you were like, I need to put this out there and just kind of see what comes out. What exactly was that message and what was the response?
Oh, yeah. I was actually just messaging with people about it. So the message that just flowed through me was, what is your greatest power that you gained as a trauma survivor? And it's really started this interesting conversation with people as to what they identify with and how they view their experience.
So I know that you had posted that in a particular site and you know, kind of feeling like, again, like I am called to put this out there. And tell me what the response was. You know, how did people respond to that? Were they timid? Were they not, you know?
Overwhelming.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want you to share with us.
Yeah, overwhelming that women are really, and men are really ready to step into what life looks like after that. Like, what is our journey? How have we healed? And are we ready for more healing? Because, Melissa, it's never a start and stop, right?
Right.
Goosebumps, right?
Yeah. So, you know, the overwhelming message that it seems like you received is kind of to go back to what I was saying in the beginning, that people are ready.
They're ready.
Experienced really intense trauma, are ready to see that bigger picture. Not only that, to do their own processing, move beyond it and see the gifts, see the power, literally the superpower that's in there.
Two of the highest ones, like without a doubt, it was resilience. People kept talking about resilience. And so when you start talking about we're ready to get back up again, brush our knees off and take another go at it, right? But when we talk about it within this framework, it's like, okay, is our body ready to keep up? Like, we can push through things, but when we start thinking about the other side effects, and we had some conversations about that, the other one that comes up a lot, of course, is like that inner strength and forgiveness. So, yeah.
Wow. There's so many levels. And I know that I used you in my video, and I had to do two different versions because I was speaking and then it went through the speaker and then I changed it. But I just want to call you out because the person I was talking about who had that incredible breakthrough with having these intense, having to go into the darkness, which I think is significant. Like you needed 3 days of darkness and the intensity of your experience before you could break through it. Even with, I'm talking about her migraines, even with all the traditional Western medications and all the other approaches you were taking, it was that intense. Now, how the heck, Barbara, did you get from, and I'm going to rewind. So I spoke about this yesterday, this, when we talk about trauma, you know, the intense emotional experiences that we go through. When we're having those experiences, it's probably the truth that we can't completely process them and move through them in that right now moment. You know, that's part of the reason why we take it on, is that we want to learn something through it. And that's not going to happen like, all right, moving right along now. Right. So when we're in that processing of the experience, there's all these different levels that we're going through, the emotional level, the embodiment level, the energetic level, the spiritual level. And so the way I described it is like, it's like these layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And in the center is the truth, which is that higher purpose. But in order to get to that truth, you have all these layers around it. And how we experience that, it's like, as embodied humans, when it's like we've taken on something that's more than we can process in this right now moment, our body puts it in different places energetically because it's not safe. We're not ready. It's not the right time and space to just move through it. So as we do get to the point where it's like, okay, this stuff is going to come to the surface because it's time, I'm ready. We're going to feel it in different ways. You're going to feel different emotions. You know, we think of this, you know, sometimes emotions, sometimes remembrances, things that literally you put deep into the unconscious. It's like you start having these memories like, oh my God, because you weren't ready to see it yet. You know, you had to pack it away deep down. So there's that level of it. But then there's also that embodied physical level. Like you experience the migraine headaches is an example for ladies. A lot of times too, we stuff things into the uterus and you can see all different kinds of menstrual issues. You can even see, you know, fibroid tumors form, all that kind of stuff. So that I want to circle back now. And what you shared with me on Wednesday was that you went from having like 3 or more of these experiences a month that would take you down. And you said in the past year, you've only had like maybe like a half of one.
Yeah. And so there's another piece to it that I talk with the women that I work with, Melissa, about when you were saying how we have all of these layers. Part of that is when I work with my ladies, when we work together, it's about protection. Like there's a piece of that too, that is we stuff things down to protect ourselves. Our coping mechanisms we keep in place as protection. So we are actually caring for ourselves until our body can't do that anymore, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so then you start to feel the tipping point of, okay, I thought this was protection, but now I have these migraines or I have these female problems. Like there's these pieces that start to, your body speaks up, right?
Right.
And says, wait, there's more to life for you. And is this really what you want to do? My migraines. And I have had people say, don't call them my migraines because then you're taking ownership of them. But they were who I was from the age of 14 until the end of last year. So every single, in fact, by the time I turned 28, I basically had a migraine from 14 to 28. I had 8 different specialists, so we can talk from the medical field, trying to figure out what was going on. At 28, I found my voice, part of it. And so then I only got them about once a month, maybe twice a month. But then in the past couple years, as things were changing, I was getting them at least twice a month. I switched jobs. It wasn't a great experience for me. And so I was having migraines 2 or 3 times a month. So think about this. In the dark for 72 hours, every other week, every 3 times, like it really affects your life. And it became my out. Like I didn't have to, we have in our buddy group, we have somebody who said, stop hiding. Migraines were a way for me to hide from my life, right? So it's that whole thing of they were actually serving me. I had to find the courage to start shedding those thoughts and from hanging on to it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I learned was that I was fearing the fear. If I had something that looked like it was going to become a migraine, I feared it into existence. Isn't that crazy? It's that fight or flight.
Wow.
I now know this year, and I'm not kidding, I can tell you the date that I had my one so far this year. I am not afraid of migraines anymore. It's not a part of my identity, right? But it's also just one step in the healing process. And what you talk about and with what the wellness that lies within, it does. We have to move this through us. We can't hug on to it. Yeah, it served a time and a place in our earlier life.
Yeah.
So, sorry, that's a little bit of my soapbox because I'm like,
no, that was beautiful. That's exactly how I want to flow with you. I want to circle back because you said something, you called out something that I had a personal experience with. It's so important, protection, right?
Yeah.
Protection.
Yeah.
So as these layers come out, it's like, yeah, you bust through one layer and you're like, yeah, no migraine, something else comes out.
Yes.
But because you've moved through so much intensity, you've freed up the energy to be able to take it on, and you've opened to so much wisdom.
Mhm.
So I had the experience for myself where I got to this level where I realized there was a protection that I had around my heart. And that protection had served me for a very long time to allow me to preserve and nurture myself and not, I was afraid to be too vulnerable because of the experiences that I was having. Now, what happened was like, okay, that I got to the point where it was like, okay, you don't need that anymore. You don't need that anymore, but I still had it. So what happened in my life, so this is another way these things will start to show up to guide you, is my relationships got really like all over the place. My personal relationships, it was like, it was showing up for me. And the reason is because like I had this guard up and I wasn't fully trusting, waiting for, the bomb to go off. And so I was like looking, I was protecting. Not only did I have like my shield on, I also had a sword that I had hidden. And if I saw even something that looked like about fearing the fear, like that might take my heart down. Like shield back on. And so it was just like, it was wreaking havoc in my relationships, really coming to the surface of like, what are you doing? You're going to destroy these connections that you have. Time to put down the sword, and time to, which was like, right. And another way that I felt it was like, I could feel like I was the bird in the cage and the cage was open. And I was, I was hiding myself in there because I'm like, I don't think it's safe. So the layer upon layer upon layer, and all the different guidance that we get, whether it's from within our body or through the other connections and relationships that we have in our lives, it's going to constantly show itself to you when you're ready. And that's really important, because it can feel really scary when you think back to your experiences and it feels overwhelming. But my experience, and I want you to speak a little bit more from your perspective too, is that it only comes up when I'm really ready to take it on. It only comes up, and this is another piece, as a trauma, in trauma, like you were saying, there's a tendency to just want to, and just, not trust anything outside of you to be able to support you. But that's another part of the healing, is realizing that everything you need is always around you and ready to guide you and support you, whether that's a certain, healer, whether that's a friend, whether that's just how you connect in nature. But you have to start to open up to receive that support and know that it's necessary and that it's safe to do so. So that's another, I've noticed that too, is when I get to another level and it feels like something shows up, like, oh, this person is who I need right now to help me with this layer. Sometimes it's my own practice, but other times there is something outside of me that shows up right when I need it to help me move through. What's been your experience as you, it's like busted through, opened?
Sure. One of the things that came up immediately was that whole hypervigilance. As trauma survivors, we are always on the lookout. And people would tease me about like the shiny object syndrome, or a squirrel is really good at that one. But that's just our protection again, right? So when you're talking about like getting ready to wield that sword, again, it was just more protection. And it's that piece of moving through it that you're going to protect that younger version of yourself in such an incredible way. So you talk about this, and it's fascinating how it bubbles up when you're ready, and how the right people will show up in the right time. And there's two pieces to that. One of the things I love to talk about is, do you remember all the favorite shoes you've ever had? I have some that I can remember distinctly, that like the soles wore out, but I still wanted to wear them. And then the style, Liz Claiborne's, the style was like long gone, right? And yet I had to get rid of them. And then when we look at who we are as people and in our physical, mental, and emotional bodies, we still have thoughts, feelings from when we were little. And so that whole thing of trying to serve ourselves, we know we had to get rid of those shoes. They're blue, they had gold in the tip. Like literally, even after I couldn't wear them anymore, I still wanted to keep them. And then the style, because it was that whole pointy thing, long gone. That was from the 80s, just saying. The late 1900s that the kids are saying now. I'm like, oh. So like there's these pieces that as it bubbles up, with Sisters Rocking Courage, it really is about rocking our confidence. Because we know, and as we speak more, because there's a part of not hiding that says, let's start having this conversation, and let's have this conversation from the place of where I want to be, not from the place of what's happened or is happening to me.
Right.
And so as we start talking, that's when it bubbles up and the people come in, and then you can start to surround yourselves in the same way. We want to hang on to our relationships forever the way they were. But if we allow ourselves to grow, and we allow the people around us to grow, we can still have fond memories and relationships with people that maybe we take a couple of steps ahead. And it is such our responsibility. That sounds like a harsh word. There might be a better way to say it, but there's such, as part of our life journey, to find people a step or two ahead, to find people that are walking with us, and to find people that we can put a hand out to help bring them along. You know, to have this secret of how to heal ourselves and keep it to ourselves. No.
Yeah, no. And I think that, it's just so beautiful, like what we're creating here in this space, what you're creating in your space. And I'm talking about our Facebook groups.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Using this modality, using this portal to be able to raise each other up, to be able to support each other. And I love what you're saying, because you're right. You need people that are right there who are in it with you. You need that guidance of your wise sisters who've gone before you. And part of how we grow is through like doing what we're doing right now and speaking to those who are still in the closet, but there's a little bit of a light. Like,
they're cracking the door. Do crack the door. Yeah.
And by doing that, there's this idea of like, when you are embodying your own experience, I mean, there is that point in place where it's like, I'm not ready to guide anyone else yet. You got to get to, that's part of the journey. You get there. And that's important. That's kind of like that under the surface, your inner work that you're doing. But there's a phase in processing where it's like, no, now it needs to come to the outside of me. And so that can come in a lot of different ways, right? So that can come through directly supporting other people in their experience. And you don't need to be a coach or a doctor or a psychologist. No, you just need to be a human being who can connect in relationship. And then what that does for you is that become, not only do you nurture and support that other person, but it's part of your own healing process. And then I think the next level that I really would love you to speak to a little more, because that's your whole niche, is the idea of like, okay, now I am ready to just launch myself into the world in some way and align my spirit with purpose, and like literally through the work that I'm bringing into the world. And that's a whole other level to shine that wisdom. And again, to say that it doesn't mean, I mean, you could open a restaurant and you'd be glowing your beautiful, huge, energetic soul in that restaurant, and it becomes a healing space. And so that's the magic in all of this, is as we heal And as we align with spirit and purpose, we're just shining that light everywhere we go. So I'd love to hear from you, like some of the, specific things that you're working with women to guide them in that process.
Yeah.
Level.
What's interesting, because you were saying like that your energy goes ahead of you. There is one of the women in the group, she was just commenting like 2 weeks ago about how when she goes for bike rides now, everybody is smiling and saying hello and happy. And she's still up in Canada where they're still wearing face masks and have restrictions. And so I just find it interesting because as we step into that life of what we were born to live, about how you just see the world respond, the people around you respond. It's not always the easiest thing. Sometimes people around us will doubt or will be in a different place in their journeys, right? So that's all part of like, what do you do next? Like now that you know that you're on your healing journey, and at whichever point you're ready for your story to then make a difference for others, because you were talking about like, if you're just starting to peek open the door, that's fine. And you can step into what your life purpose was at any time. And the piece that we do is really work to create that value in a way that other people value. So it really is going from survivor to entrepreneur. To spread hope is a really key part of it, and then achieve financial independence. So why is that important? Is because we often say, oh shucks, right? Ah, shucks, it was just my journey. The things that you do that come naturally to you that other people say, boy, I wish I could do that, those offer value to the world. And the way that our culture, our society shows that is by making money.
Right.
And so you can so often we think if we're doing like a heart-centered business, we should just open a nonprofit. We should do nonprofit. I worked in nonprofit for 25 years, and there's a real focus of scarcity. And for trauma survivors to work in places of scarcity really creates that snowball effect. And what we do with Sisters Rocking Courage is say, you know what, if you want to do nonprofit, you can, but you can really create a business of hope and really step more fully into what you were born to do.
Beautiful. So I think you've got a workshop coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We do. The workshop is really going to focus on, it's so exciting. There's 3 main challenges that any new entrepreneurs tend to have, and especially as trauma survivors, is the confusion and like, okay, I know I want to do something, I just don't know what it is. And then, okay, I know I want to work with people, but who do I want to work with? And then in our world, there's a lot of discussion around who your ideal client is or perfect client. There's all kinds of lingo for that. So the 3 steps of this workshop are going to be helping women, and you can actually set up a call to talk to me one-on-one. Within 15 to 20 minutes, get much clearer on who you want to work with. And then what do? We know that it's about taking imperfect action. So as you get that clarity.
Imperfect action. Okay, yes. That needed emphasis. Beautiful. Yes. Okay, keep going.
Because we will never be perfect. And there's so many of us that have held ourselves back. I was hiding because from my trauma, I needed things to look really nice. I needed for people to think I didn't make many mistakes. Right? And so that imperfect action is such a gift, and that's what gets you going towards where you're going to end up. What I'm doing today is different than what I was doing a year ago, but I'm still going and getting more and more clear. And every day I wake up, there's surprises. I have people from Australia who are, they're saying, look, you're actually changing the conversation for trauma. And I'm like, really? Because it's just my journey. Like, that's great. And I'm excited because so many of us sit around and say, I wish the world would be different. Or why is there so much anger? In Sisters Rocking Courage, the next 3 days, it is the 17th, 18th, and 19th, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you go on Sisters Rocking Courage, it really is going to be 3 days, short of an hour each. So 3 hours of your life. And there is no pressure. This is only going to be to help you get on your way and surround you with other sisters who are doing the same journey. It is transformational. The women that I work with, it is incredible to see where they start and where they are and how their life is different. waking up with joy, waking up knowing that they're living in their greater truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. I know. I just love it.
I could talk to you forever about this. It's so beautiful, right?
Well,
I mean,
and I want to go back to what you do, Melissa, because that whole piece of healing, so often our bodies are holding us back. Whatever it is, whether it's, I've got gallbladder challenges, I've had digestion issues, still do, and the migraines, like it all comes together. I grew up with allergies, all of that. So that's a piece that when we are ready to really explore, Western medicine couldn't fix that for me.
Right.
And so when you offer these alternatives of exploring, it really opens up the doors to be able to live life more fully, to be able to enjoy every single day, to know that you are in control of your body, not that your body is in control of you.
Right, right. Ah. Yeah. I mean, because when we talked about all those layers upon layers upon layers, that's, I mean, for me in my experience, my healing experience through my traumas and all the little trauma balls I had inside of me. Yeah, that's what led me to this path, because this approach is addressing every level. Even when you're not fully ready to open up at that huge spiritual level, opening up the energetic, emotional connections through a process that is connected to spirit level helps to prepare you to go to that highest level. That's the gift in all of it. Yeah, so Barbara and I will be having actually workshops. If you want to just join the two of us, we'll be having, like, not at the same time, a few hours later, I'll be doing my Revitalized Women's Retreat, which is addressing exactly what we're talking about, that physical, emotional stagnation, what could be at the root of it, and how this is literally your energy, your power. And when you can open that up and create flow, you live more fully an empowered life. You free up all that energy in your body for healing, but also to take the next step and engage in your life's purpose and whatever that may mean for you. So we'll drop all those links in the comments, and the feed was blowing up, and we've got some friends that are helping us with that, and I'm gonna respond actively as you can. This was beautiful. I know there's going to be more to come with collaborating with you, because we're just so aligned. All right.
Well, and I want to give a shout out to Chantel, who's on here too, because oh my goodness, what a trio we are. Thank you.
There's the power of three. There's something that just keeps coming up. I have 3 different groups of women that I'm connected with right now that are threes. So yeah, that's that support that comes in right when you need it. So yes, thank you, Chantel. All right.
And happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. And we'll get to shout out when you'll be doing your group. You'll be doing a workshop on your birthday. I love that.
Well, I figure if I'm working on my birthday, other people can show up too.
Let's show up to your party.
Absolutely.
All right. And also enjoy. We also have another alignment, you guys. It's like, I don't even know. Some of you out there may have, maybe Tara, you could comment on this. Tara Robertson, if you're listening. So Sunday, it is 8/8, August 8th, and it's a new moon. And I know that there's this whole Leo lion portal, and then 8 is a really, really powerful number. In Chinese numerology, it's about transformation. So yeah, so to have all of this aligning in this right now moment, we are so supported. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.